Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to Weekend Update. Hope you are all enjoying. So let's start with Bitcoin. We will start with Bitcoin futures. And this is BTC futures. You can see there is a gap here around 34,165. If I go to 1 hour chart, you can see here this gap happened here around this time here on 29th of October, 1 hour gap. And that gap is not filled. So I'm expecting Bitcoin to fill that gap. And also there are some other gaps here. So all these green lines at the bottom are the gaps to fill. 34,165, 29,760, and 26,305. All right. And there's also the last gap here around 2160. I don't know when that will be filled, but just keep that in mind. So on a daily time frame, you can see what's happening here. On RSI, I got a red signal, which is a sell signal. Tuesday, 14th of November, that's where we had a crossover on PPO. Green line went below red line, so which is a bearish indication. And also you can see now the MACD also I'm getting red dots here. So a lot of pressure, downwards pressure on Bitcoin here. And I think most likely we're coming to fill that gap. First gap is 34,165. If I zoom out, you can see this trend line here, this white trend line. Worst case, if this support breaks or this gap fills and still we do not get a bounce, Bitcoin can come all the way down to fill this gap, and that's where our trend line is as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. And if we drop from here to this gap, it's going to be almost 18-19%. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's something you have to keep in mind. Best case scenario, we fill this gap around 34,165, and then again we go for a pump. One thing to note, if I go to live market Bitcoin, this is live futures, you can see what's happening on daily chart. We have divergence. What that means, price is going high, price is going higher high, making higher high, but RSI is losing momentum. RSI is making lower highs. Okay, so this high here, which happened on 15th of November, this candle, look at the RSI here, so bearish. Okay, so Bitcoin is losing momentum. Also, I have this red dot on live market as well, and you can see green line is below red line. So you have to wait for this momentum to shift. If you want to be bullish, you want to see this green dot instead of red dot, and you want to see red line, green line below, above red line. You want to see green MACDs like this mountain here. So right now, what do you see here? You see exactly opposite. You see a red dot here. This red dot came on 13th of November, and green line is below red line, and I see red dots here. Okay, so momentum is clearly to the bearish side. Also on top of that, we have this divergence on RSI. So this is bearish pressure on Bitcoin, and I think we can come to this next support, which is here around 30,000. So looking for that. All right, until that shifts, until green line goes above red line, or I get a green dot, nothing changed. And you can see the background here on RSI, it was very oversold Bitcoin here. This whole move since 23rd of October until 11th of November, the whole move which we went higher was very overbought. So almost 10%, 11% move. It was very overbought. Now we are losing momentum on Bitcoin short term. So be careful short term on Bitcoin. Yeah, you can see this next. Another thing you can see, we had a resistance here around May time frame. We tried to hold here, break down. Then we tried to go over there, go above that on Saturday, 15th of April. Went down again, tried again, went down, and eventually we broke out, but we never came to back test it. Okay, so ideally we would like to see a back test before we go higher. So what that means, ideally we would like to see a little bit of downwards pressure, find buyers here, and then try to make another trip higher. That's my primary case on Bitcoin. Ethereum, you can see if I zoom in, our indicators are telling me something's very similar. Got a red dot here on 14th of November, Tuesday. Green line is below red line, and I see red dots on MACD. Again, bearish pressure. Now, the good thing about Ethereum is right on the support zone here, around 1850, 1800. So we should see a little bit more dip, and I want to see buyers committing to this dip and buying it. Okay, but I think it's all going to depend on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is going to fall more, which I think it could, and it can go all the way to this box around 31, 32K. So from here, where we are now, to that box is around 11, 12%. All right. So if Bitcoin falls 12%, Ethereum can even fall further. Okay. So just for the sake of numbers, if I go 10-12%, Ethereum can even come all the way down here to this next support, which is around 1600. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Right now, all indicators are showing there's going to be some bearish pressure on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Until that reverses, you got to be careful. All right, guys, that's for crypto. Now I'm going to move to traditional market. On VIX, you can see VIX selling off 3.63% again on Friday. The cycle low is coming beginning to mid-December, so I think it's going to still sell off, going to make a new low here. S&P 500 flat. Let's go to SPY to analyze this. This is cash index. You can see we were just, this was resistance, and we just had a gap up after CPI, and now there are multiple gaps to the downside. All these green lines are the gaps to fill to the downside, and this yellow line is the gap to the fill upside, and that's my target for now. So from here, Friday's close, I'm looking for 1.24% upside still. This was a Fitch downgrade gap, which is never filled. Now it is possible we could come down, fill this gap first and then go, or we go straight higher. I don't know which way will happen first. So it's also a possibility like this. Okay, just keep that in mind, just for the sake of scenarios, but it's quite possible we can still go straight up as well. There are no divergence on RSI. However, 1 hour chart, I do see some divergence. You can see higher highs, but you can see on PPO and RSI lower high. All right, so there is lower momentum on PPO, so we could see a dip. That means we could see a gap fill here before we go higher short term, but on daily chart there are no divergences happening. All right, and you can see green line is way above red line. Still could be room there to go higher, so keep that in mind. On SPY, triple Q's, Nasdaq cash index, same thing here. Very nicely we tried break out of this downwards line, back test one day, and now we're just going straight up. All right, now sky's the limit. My target honestly is this previous high by December, so if you can be patient, I think my target is going to be here around 6% away from here. Okay, so even if you get a dip to fill this gap, it's still going to be bullish. Look to buy on the gap fill, and then we're going to go high again. One thing to note, we are making equal high, but RSI is making lower high. So if this keeps going down, if it keeps going up, eventually this divergence will fade away and we will have no divergence. Okay, right now there's a little bit divergence, so just be mindful of that. And PPO has same thing, nothing changed on PPO. Green line is above red line, nothing to worry. Again, on 1 hour chart like SPY, I do have a little bit of divergence. You can see price is making higher high, RSI is making lower high, PPO is making lower high. So just be careful on triple Qs. And on NDX, Nasdaq, I want to show you. Let's get our indicator on weekly and let's see how weekly closed. So let's go to weekly chart on Nasdaq. Let's get our indicator here. And you can see here on weekly chart, we're marching higher, came back between green line and red line. We always come back in a bull market between green and red line, get charged, go higher. You can see always it happens between green line, red line, come back, boom, come back, boom, come back, boom. Even here, come back, boom, come back, boom. Here, this was all the way since 2016, come back, boom, come back, boom, come back, boom, come back, boom. So this is a start of a new bull market, and we're going higher. We came back to refill. Now we're a little bit higher away from the green line. You can see how many green candles we got already. So we can get a pullback next week. That's possible. You can see 3 red candles, get a bounce. 3 red candles, get a bounce. 2 bounce. So now we're getting 3 green candles. We can get a dip as well. So I won't be surprised if we get like a red week next, and then that will come near the green line. That will get opportunity for green line to go higher, get a red week, and then we bounce again. Okay, so I won't be surprised. So what I'm trying to tell you is good time to take profits. And also on weekly chart, I got a green line just now. So that's also very bullish indication. Okay, so look to take profits. We could get a gap fill and then we can go higher again. So that's going to be still perfectly normal, because in the daily chart we still be making, we made a higher high, we could be making a higher low and then bounce again. So keep that in mind. Let's look at gold. Gold perfectly working out. This was a nice area Okay, sorry, before I go there, just wanted to show you seasonality of NASDAQ. You can see in November, we are right now 18th of November. So we are here ahead of mid of November. We could get a dip. You can see what happened. This is last 20 years of seasonality chart. We could get a dip next week and then we bounce. All right, even on S&P 500, you can see November, get a dip next week and then bounce to new highs. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, going back to gold, you can see here gold came back nicely on this support area here around 1900 and then bouncing. So I think it's going for new highs. Silver nicely holding this trend line, broke out, now back tested it, now looking to go higher. Nothing changed. Natural gas nicely, this is where I wanted to see natural gas. Who, if you're following me, I was telling we really want to see this support holding, and this is the best time to buy. So we are now again testing the support. This is where I should be looking to buy natural gas. Crude oil again came on the support. You can see people who are watching me, I was very bearish on crude oil, and now we are on support. I said this is where you should be looking for a bounce. If you watched my video from last time, and we got a bounce. Okay, now this could be still a lower high before we go lower. 65 is my eventual target, and that will be very good area to buy. So just be careful if you are long on crude oil. Dollar new lows, making series of lower highs, lower lows, and next target is here around 101. And let's quickly look at tech stocks. Apple is looking bullish. RSI is a little bit overbought, so we could get a little bit of dip. So look to buy all the dips. Now the gaps are a little bit higher. There's another gap here around 195. Are we going to go fill that gap, then come back lower? Or are we going to come back lower and then fill this gap and then go higher? I don't know. We will see. Tesla, this gap is still not filled, so I'm still looking for this gap to fill around 224 before we go higher. Netflix, I think next target is here, which it's trying to go around 475. Microsoft, still there's a gap. I think let's go to 1 hour chart. This gap should be marked with yellow. Top gaps are marked with yellow. So there's a gap here. Are we going to come all the way down to fill this gap, then go higher, or are we going to go fill this gap first? So let's see what happens. Google, again, there are multiple gaps to the top side. So this gap is also should be yellow. So Google also, you can see multiple gaps. So looking for those gaps to fill. Meta, Facebook, also there are two gaps, 357 and 360. Looking for those are our target. Amazon, trying to go, it needs to break this trend line. Okay, finding resistance on this trend line. I really want Amazon to go ahead, break this trend line. So let's see if it can go there, do that. Snowflake's kind of flat. Next target here 176. NVDA flat, and looks like it's making a little bit of divergence on RSI, but let's see. Earnings are soon, so we'll see what earnings. If earnings are bad, there's a gap here on 423 that could also be filled, so be careful on NVIDIA. AMD also looking bullish, just straight going higher. Toronto Stock Exchange, multiple gaps. I think eventually it's going to fill one of these gaps and then go higher. And bond market flat, finding resistance where it should, right in the resistance box. So maybe it will go lower from here. Copper bullish, came to the buy zone, just bouncing. Palladium nicely trying its best to go above. The next resistance is around 1140. Wheat in the buy box. This is where you should be buying wheat. Corn trying to make new low, but it's on higher divergence. So you have to wait for this red 50 SMA line to break before you buy again. Soya beans coming back to the buy box. Sugar flat, but looking for this come back to this trend line before we can buy again. All right, gold miners, Newmont mine 0.57 down. Remember there's a gap here, 34.29. Gold miners also looking like there's a gap here. It can fill that before it goes higher. Look at sector XLK looking for new highs. Already it's made a new high. Keep going higher, very bullish. XLE right on the buy box here. This is where we should be looking to buy, and look exactly, it went to the buy box and bouncing now. XLV again on this trend line. As long as it's above this trend line, nothing changed. Look to buy on the tag of this trend line. Utility sector also flat. If it comes back to this buy area, look to buy around $61. XLI industrial gap up, so it could still fill this gap before it can go higher again, so that's quite possible. Real estate sector, same thing, massive gap. Is it going to fill this gap? There are also gaps at the top side, so maybe it will not fill and directly go higher. Who knows? Financial sector back above this trend line, very bullish. Look to buy on the tag of this trend line for now. And the KRA regional bank ETF also gap up. Are we going to get a gap fill before we go higher? I don't know. We'll see. Shopify, looking for new highs. Nothing changed. Let's look at Cisco, the stock which dropped heavily. Where did it go? Let's try to find. Here you go. Right in the buy box here. Dropped. Came to the buy box. This is where you should be holding. Look to buy here. And the other one was Walmart. Again, Walmart is also in this nice buy box. Okay, these are stocks on sale. And from the top, it went all the way down, almost 8.5%, 9% down on Walmart. And Cisco, from the top, it went all the way down 12%, and now as of top it's almost 11%. So if you can hold these two stock long term, it's good for you. Alright guys, I hope you like the channel today and you like the videos, and I wish you all a great weekend and have a great rest of the day. Bye.